Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Frank here. Today we're going to start working on a modification to the Dozer's blade. There have been a lot of comments on the channel about this blade arrangement. There were concerns that it wasn't strong enough or that it was flexing, or and I don't think any of that is an issue. I mean, it is made for tractors rated to 30 horsepower. And as you can see, it's curved. It's got a replaceable wear edge on it. I mean, and it's got a little dog leg in it here. It's quarter inch, or almost quarter inch. Maybe it's 5 millimeters. Anyway, it's a pretty stout blade. But you know, there have been comments that it doesn't really suit the scale model idea of this build, and I have to agree. You know, I agree with that. It doesn't really cosmetically fit with, you know, the original idea of a scale model, basically. So I am going to modify it, and my plan is to make it a little bit look at this. Just get started. Here he comes. Brutus. Brutus. You doing okay? Yeah. He's such a good boy. It is, it's raining outside. I mean, it's pouring and he's wet. But they don't seem to mind the rain much. Anyway, as long as I don't turn the welder on, he'll stay in here. If I turn the welder on, he's gone like a shot. Okay, so back to the blade. I'm going to make it a little bit narrower and a little taller. And then I got an idea for the ends of the blade as well. So I'm going to unbolt this. My plan is to attempt to cut the blade off, and I'm going to cut between these two bolts here, straight up. So that's what, 4 inches? The blade is 60 inches wide, and so I'm going to, if I take 4 inches off of each end, then, you know, give me 52 inches width. So I mean, I think that's good. It'll make it about equal to the track width, because right now the blade is, you know, a little bit wider than the track, probably 6 or 8 inches wider. I haven't measured it, but you can see that it's wider than the track width, which, I mean, you know, has some advantages, but a couple inches narrower won't hurt anything. And I'll make it a little bit taller, and we'll add a bracket to the ends. So I've got an idea for a design for that. So I broke these bolts loose the other day, so So one of the neat features of this Langmuir plasma table is it has automatic torch height control. So it senses the voltage of the arc, and it will raise and lower the torch to maintain the proper cut height above the stock. So even though this is curved, I believe that the torch will follow the curve, maintaining the appropriate torch height, which is about 60 thousandths, so 1/16 of an inch above the surface of the stock, and we'll hold that torch height, raise it and lower it, and follow the contour of the blade and be able to cut the blade. And there is a function built within in the software, the fire control software, which is part of the Langmuir system, which allows you to do straight cuts. I've done that on some of my earlier videos. I think you've seen that. But in any case, we would do a straight cut in the, I'll probably start on this side. Since I have the wear edge over here, which increases the thickness substantially, you know, normally 1/4 inch I would cut at 40 inches per minute. Over here, you know, it's almost a 1/2 inch thick at some point, which I would cut at 17 inches a minute. So what I may do is start it off at maybe under a little bit less than 40, maybe 35, just to make sure it cuts okay. And when I get to this point, I'll reduce the cut speed, maybe reduce it in half to cut it down to 15 or something. Now I'll wind up getting a little more dross on it, but you know, if you cut too slow, you get a lot of slag and dross on the back side of the cut. There's an optimal cut speed. Too fast and it doesn't cut all the way through, or it tapers the cut. Too slow and you get excess slag or dross on the underside of the cut, or even you lose the arc, potentially lose the arc if you cut much too slow. So I'm going to try to be a little bit conservative here on my cut speed, and see if we can move the torch over the, yeah, so there's enough clearance. The torch goes up plenty high, so there's enough clearance to clear the blade. So that's the approximate cut location right there. Alright, so we'll have to fill the table with water. Hadn't been used in a week or two, and charge the air system and get set up to make first this cut. We'll spin the blade around, cut the other end off. I'm set up here with the plasma table to cut the ends off the blade, and I've got the table full and the air compressor's running, charging the air system. I've squared the blade up to the table with the framing square against the edge of the table and the edge of the blade, so I'm close. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's pretty close. I've ground a bare spot on the blade for the work clamp, and I've got some pieces of angle iron supporting the blade, because right now if I don't support the blade here, the off-cut piece is currently would otherwise be supporting the blade, supporting this blade, so when it gets cut off it would drop. Not sure what issue that might cause. So I've got it supported, and I'm just going to cut you know, approximately in the middle between these two bolts, and I'm going to do a straight cut across, and the height control, the torch height control, should maintain the proper cutting height of the nozzle over the workpiece across the cut. So one more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and change the nozzle out, make sure I've got a new nozzle, new electrode, so I don't have an issue with that. And we'll get started here, and once the air system is charged, we'll go ahead and start the cut. Alright, it looks like the cut speed was too fast to cut through everything here, so it just partially cut through this section. So I've just moved it back. I'm going to restart the cut here, slow it down substantially, and attempt to finish that cut. Alright, so it had some trouble finishing that cut even when I tried it a second time, but I think it's I think I can just finish it off with a zip disc, which is what I'll do. Alright, I'm going to turn the blade around. We'll cut the other end off. Alright, it looks like the torch made a good cut. I mean, most of the way till it got to this point where we had the wear edge doubled the thickness of the cut. So there's a spot here where it didn't cut all the way through. So we'll knock this off or cut it off, whatever's necessary, but it managed to maintain the proper height all the way across. I could see the torch height adjusting, going up as it went across. So it worked. That worked pretty well. If it weren't for this cut edge, the wear edge here, it would have cut it perfectly, I believe. All right, I've got the blade turned around. Let me square it up to the table. It's resting on these pieces of angle iron here, so we don't have an issue with the support being cut off. All right. I've got this little Bluetooth keyboard that I've been using, which is really convenient for moving the cutter around. Alright, so that's centered between those two. We'll start over here. So I start with a nozzle right on the edge of the work. The initial height sensor will go down, touch the work, come up to the proper pierce height, start the arc, and it'll pause for a second, second and a half, and then start cutting the material. Got the work clamped here on the bare spot I ground. Alright, we're going to try the cut again. We'll see what happens when we get to this point. I expect it to do the same thing as it did before. That is, fail to cut all the way through. We'll deal with that. So as it was cutting it, it lost the arc the first time through. So I reset it, ran it again, and as I got over here, I slowed the speed down almost half as fast as it was running. It was running 15 inches per minute. I cut it down to less than 10, 6 or 7 or 8, and then so it cut most of the way, but of course when the height dropped substantially over this lip, it lost the arc. So I'm just going to start it over there, come back this way, see if we can. That took a couple of tries to finish the cut, but it did finish the cut. So yeah, it looks like it's almost 3/4 of an inch thick here at the thickest point. So the fact that it cut all the way through that is a little bit amazing. I really wasn't sure how it would work, but it actually worked pretty well. So I'm pleased with that. This one's cut's completed. I'll get the zip disc and we'll see if we can knock this one off. Maybe it will just break off. Let's try that first. Well, So that actually worked fine. It's not the prettiest cut here, but I think it worked great. Next thing I'm going to do is add an extension on the top of this blade. I'm going to weld strips of 1/4 inch steel plate about 2.5 or 3 inches wide across here to make the blade taller. And I think that'll be more in scale with the build. So I've got to grind a bevel. I'll grind a bevel on here. Actually, I'll grind it from both sides. I'll do the same on the piece I'm going to add, and then we'll weld a strip on the top of this. So if you recall from several episodes ago, it was probably 2 months ago now, anyway, from an earlier episode, this was the prototype standoff channel that we made and never used because it was too tall, but it's got metal about the right width, and it's the right thickness, 1/4 inch. So I'm going to take this apart, cut these welds, and we'll use the two sides to increase the height of this blade. I've got the extensions for the blade clamped now. So this is a about 2 3/4 inch extension to the blade, and it just happened to be some scrap metal that I had that I think is about the right size, so I'm using it. And I've got it clamped, and of course it has this joint in the middle. I've beveled the edges both of the blade and of the extension material, and I've got it lined up. And the next thing I'm working on before I weld this up is the end of the blade, and I'm working on that, and I'll show you what I've got so far. This is the end of the blade, so this arc here I believe is close to the blade. Oh, it looks like I've got a straight line there. I need to fix that. Where'd that come from? Huh. So if you look at this diagram here, the outline of the curve has facets, like 3 straight lines instead of a smooth curve. So I went back into Fusion 360, messed around with it for about half an hour, and I could not change it. I mean, I could not get, no matter how I drew the arc, whether I drew a spline or a 3-point arc or a circle, everything came through into fire control as a faceted curve. So I decided to go ahead and cut it out of a piece of 1/8 inch as a test piece, and it cut a perfectly smooth curve. So I don't know why fire control was showing showing facets on the curve, but it cut it perfectly. So this is the edge of the blade, and this is going to go on here like this, and basically I can get this camera, stabilized camera, to work right. It basically look like that. So that's just to give the blade a little bit of character, and maybe it'll stiffen the blade up a little bit at the ends. I will cut it out of 1/4 inch. This is just a piece of 1/8 inch. So I was just using that as a test piece. So I'll cut 2 pieces out of 1/4 inch. I found a scrap of 1/4 inch that I can get the 2 blade edges out of, so I'm going to go ahead and cut them. Did a beautiful job. I mean, there's almost no dross on the back of this, just a little bit over here. I'll tell you, there's a sweet spot on this plasma table. You get this a sweet spot, and it likes a 1/4 inch. I mean, it does this fabulous job. 3/8 get a little more dross. 1/2 inch, you get a good bit. 1/8 inch is very little, so in general up to a 1/4 inch there's almost no dross. After that it's a little more problematic. Okay, in order to cut this other piece, I there's no way to do a mirror image that I know of in fire control. So, and that's what I need to do, is I need to flip it. I can rotate it, but I can't flip it, as far as I know. So I'm gonna flip the piece of steel, because it won't fit unless I do that. All right, so this is the, layout. I need to pick my origin. I measure the plate from the edge of the table, just shy of 3 3/4. A little bit. Let's make it 3 3/4. Okay, 3 3/4. 3 3/4. So that makes sure that an x-axis cut is parallel to the table and this edge of the sheet metal. Don't have a lot of room to spare, but up here I'm close, and then down here I'm close to these previous pierces, so I want to stay away from those. I don't want to go off the edge here, so I've marked the origin right here. Bring the torch over to the origin. All right. I've got the torch set at the origin. You can see how I've rotated it and laid it out horizontally. We'll set the program origin right here. Zero the axes at that point. Click on zero all axes. So that sets the origin here. And we've got cut speed 40 inches per minute, which is what we use for 1/4 inch steel. And we're ready to go. Hit start right here. So I wear this grade number 5 shade number 5 face mask when I'm using the plasma table, because it allows me to easily, flip it up and put it back down, and gives you, protection of your face from flying sparks. So that's my solution for that. You can buy Shade 5 goggles or whatever, or eyeglasses. A lot of people just buy Shade 5 eyeglasses, but obviously since I wear prescription lenses, it's not so easy. All right, I've got both sides of this welded. Kind of stitch welded it to start with, trying to, avoid warping it. So I, did short sections on each side, alternated sides, and then filled in between them. Got good penetration. I was running the welder on 6 and 60 for the wire feed, which is the setting. I think it's a setting for 3/8 inch. Yeah, 650. Yeah, 660s for 1/4 inch. 670 is for 3/8 inch. So it was set on the right temperature. I think I got good penetration. And I mean, the welds are not beautiful, but I'm going to grind them down, smooth them out, blend them in. But I think they'll be fine. And there's my brew. You come in to get something to eat. How you doing today, huh? You being a good boy, huh? I know you are. And of course, here comes Butchie. There's my other big boy. Butchie's a big boy. Butchie's the big boy. He's got, I don't know, at least 10 pounds on Brutus. He's a chow hound. So, and of course, Brutus is eating. Trying to get something to eat. Well, she's not looking. Oh, it's almost finished. Let's get some more gummy for your dish, Brutus. I don't know why I use the term, well, I do know why I use the term gummy. It's a term my wife has used since she was a little kid. I think it must be, yeah, I don't know the origin. For some reason I was thinking it's German. She's of German heritage, though. I don't know, fourth generation here in the USA. All right. So he got his dish filled. Now, Butchie, is that your dish? Huh? Of course, it's not your dish. Your dish is over there. See? Butchie will go. He goes and checks out Brutus's dish because I put some more food in and he wants to see what Brutus has got. And of course, Brutus would just as easily want to see what Butchie's got as well. So, Butchie. All right. Eat your own food. Yeah. He's such good puppies. It's kind of a cloudy day today. It's been raining. It's been raining for like 3 days. It's been raining for like 3 days. So, on and off. We probably got 2 inches of rain. I wonder if anybody wants a treat. Do you think a treat would be of interest to anybody? So he sees me open the door here, the cabinet door. What do you think you're doing, Brutus? What do you think? Oh, now there's Butchie. He's getting in the act. There's Butchie's and there's Brutus. And they take them outside. All right, it's the next day, and the blade's cooled off, of course, completely. I moved it over here to the welding area, and so I can grind it and control the sparks. I got better spark control over here, and but we're going to wrap up this episode at this point, and come back next time, working on the blade, grinding the welds flat, blending everything in. We'll remove the decals and put some yellow paint on it. Well, we'll weld on the ends, of course, as well, and get it back on the tractor in the next episode. So I hope you've found this interesting, and that for some of you, you will be happy to see that the blade is getting a little more Caterpillar-ish looking, and I'm going to be happy. I'm happy about it too. I think it always had been in the back of my mind that I would eventually do this. So just finally came time to pull out the welder and work on it. So all right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.